time to pour one out for our homie Kegasis. This is Corey, and this is the The Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 163 of the The Anthem podcast.
Correct.
It is 4:14 Pacific time. That means it's 7:14 Eastern Standard Time, and we are live, coast to coast, coming to you from beautiful downtown Los Angeles, California, and the hashtag OTALA studios.
Yeah.
And so, to those of people who might not be as old as we are, where does the reference to your intro come from?
Oh my God. What was it? 3 years ago that Kegasis was a thing?
It was before that. I mean, he was a thing for a while. Like,
Not that long.
Really? Because I feel like
it was 2 years.
I was in law school, so that had to be like 5 years ago. Because there were people who left.
We talked about it on the podcast.
Right, but it was the last. That was when they were talking about not bringing Kegasis back.
Oh, maybe.
That's what I think.
So maybe it was the 2 years prior to that?
Yeah.
That was the...
And that would have been law school.
Because I remember us talking about like the porta potty races and the...
Good God.
That was a classic bit for the Facebook. Yeah, I don't know.
But so Kegasis was the
unofficial mascot of the Preakness.
And I don't remember what TV station it was that brought him out, but was it just the commercials?
It was the commercials.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. And it was the dude who was a half centaur, or he was a centaur.
Yeah.
Half horse, half man. And he was Kegasis.
Well, how they claimed him is half man, half party animal.
That's
if
it.
I remember correctly. And the idea was that once you couldn't bring in your own alcohol to Preakness anymore,
right?
Kegasis was there to host your all-you-can-drink Magic Cup version of the Preakness,
right?
Which didn't really take off the way they hoped it would.
Well, the Magic Cup I have problems with because bringing your own alcohol means that like at some point you're going to run out. Because I don't know how most people are, but I always underestimate the amount of alcohol I'm going to need at an event like that. Like, 12 beers, 12 hours, I'll be fine. No, I'm going to down 4 beers in the first hour.
I have the exact opposite problem. I go like, well, I never drink more than 12 beers in a day, but it's Preakness, so maybe I'll drink 24. And then I buy 24 and I drink 4. And then I'm like,
right.
Well, that was an outrageous waste of money.
But then they let you, it was like buy the ticket, buy a cup, and you could just refill it all day.
Yeah.
And people just got even worse than they would have been if they would just brought their own alcohol.
Yeah.
Except for, like, I remember the stories about people.
I think the idea was that there was going to be somebody there, essentially, who was going to be able to cut people off.
Yeah.
Like, when you bring in your own alcohol, there's nobody who's there going, like, you've had enough.
Right.
I've seen you here 5 times in the last 10 minutes. Like, you're good.
Yeah.
Like,
nope, nobody.
Nobody restrains the infield when you bring in your own alcohol. I guess real quick before we move on to like the more pressing issues of the day.
Yeah.
I've heard more and more talk recently about the Preakness moving from Pimlico to Laurel. Do you have any?
I mean, like it's the
Pimlico, take on that?
Pimlico is the spot where it has always been, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't understand. I mean, I guess it's because the racetrack is old and Laurel's better.
Yeah.
I think everybody.
Laurel could bring in a higher class of patron than Pimlico could.
Listen, having done Uber in Baltimore the past few years, I can tell you that there are high-class people, there are low-class people. They're going to find their way everywhere. It doesn't matter. I think the people who live around Pimlico would appreciate it not being there. But then on the other hand, they sell their yards for $100 for parking. So
I once delivered catering to a woman who lived directly across the street from Pimlico.
Yeah.
And I asked her about it. I said, how do you feel like living across from Pimlico? And she's like, well, I mean, every day of the year except for the Preakness, it's fine. And then she says she usually finds somebody to rent her house out for Preakness.
Just to have their party there and everything?
Yeah, so she'll rent her house out for like $1,000 so that everyone can have their party and all their sort of goodness there. And then she just gets like a hotel real cheap for the night.
Right. Make some money.
And just make some money on it.
Why not?
Yeah.
But so speaking of things that we shouldn't do anymore, have you heard this week about the new fashion style for men?
I have.
And what are your... First of all, for those who don't know, we're talking about the Romp-M. It's a romper that men would wear.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you wear a romper?
No, absolutely not. I would not. Listen, I'm casual to a fault. I'm usually always wearing the t-shirt and the shorts.
Way too much Orioles gear.
Way too much Orioles gear. It's just because I own too much Orioles gear. It's one of those things where I go like, oh, I'm going to have to wear Orioles gear to set at some point this week because there's no
I don't have anything else.
I don't have things that cover up my belly when I'm booming. Like that's an important
I've
factor.
worn my OD Anthem shirt. I wore my other OD Anthem shirt. So Orioles gear it is. All right. Yeah, there we go.
No, but I mean, like, I just I don't get it. I don't understand why it would be popular. I don't understand. This all seems manufactured to me too.
Okay.
That's the other thing. Like, I've heard a lot of people. We're gonna get more into Trump, but I've heard people talk about Trump like, well, if the Russians didn't hack into voting machines, how did they actually influence people to vote for him?
Yeah.
I think the romper is like an example of this,
Right?
Where you're just gonna put out so many stories about the romper for men that some X amount of people are going to buy it thinking it's a good idea.
Yeah.
When it was never a good idea. It was just the company putting out like this huge digital push to get people talking about it. And
people are already buying it.
Yeah.
People are already buying it. I mean, we live at one of the push fashion places of the world. Like,
right.
If it's going to happen, it's going to happen here.
It's gonna happen in Los Angeles, New York, Milan.
Yeah. And I was walking
Paris.
down Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, and I saw a dude in a romper, and I was like, all right, so it's here, and we're doing this, apparently. This is what we've come to.
Right.
But let's discuss a couple of the issues. Number one complaint I've heard from women is that it is a onesie. So that means anytime you have to go to the bathroom, you have to strip. Now, for Corey, that's fine, because he already drops trout and takes off his T-shirt.
I drop trout, I bring up my shirt like this. And pee like an 8-year-old.
Stand at the urinal with the pants around the ankle.
Yeah.
You're that guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
and then rather than like dude or sir or man or any of the usual like things I use, I just call everyone sailor. I'm like, what you looking at, sailor?
But like, I can't imagine like it automatically every bathroom visit becomes a stall visit, right?
Yeah,
like,
probably.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you're not gonna like.
Well, it probably was anyway because nobody wants to see the smallest dick that your romper is hiding.
I will say that
just how I play.
The memes that have come out of the romper coming out or the romp him, it's a romp him, have been absolute magic. Like the entirety of hey, I don't know why you're getting on guys who would wear the romper. Your man crush Monday has been wearing a romper. Picture of a jumpsuit from prison. Like,
yeah.
like he's been in a romper for the last 5 years. So I don't know who you're judging. But yeah, like it's these kind of cultural phenomenons, and when it really does, and I don't want to get it too much into Trump, but it does relate back to Trump with the, like, how do you influence people?
Yeah.
Because Rob would never, ever, when he saw it in the store, buy or wear a romper. But
Right.
Rob might buy a romper when some girl is like, you know what? You would look really cute in a romper. And I'm like, you know what? I bet I would look cute in a romper. I should try one. Just for funsies.
You should see what a romper looks like.
Yeah, we'll just see. We'll just see what it looks like. I'm just going to try it on. Oh, my God. This is magic. Oh, I want to wear this every single day. I'll take 10, please. All black. Always black.
All black. All black everything.
But yeah, we have officially jumped the shark.
Romper just feels like the definition of hashtag white people.
It really...
like
But it's not, though, because Black Twitter took off with it. The people who are wearing it are like black rappers. Like designer who
right.
thinks he's like the shit or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, he's the guy who's pushing it forward in the culture. But when you push things forward like that, it's going to take off. When you see a dude wearing a $2,500 romp him, you're like, you know what? I need to get me a romp him.
No.
That's what I need to do.
I'm never going to be that insecure in my own self.
Right.
To have to buy into a trend like that. It's just not going to happen. Like, I can't. And you know what the thing is too? I've never been somebody who like bought into any trend
right.
as it came along. Like I've never been like I never wore Jinko jeans.
You never wore Jinkos?
No.
Oh man, you missed.
I mean, I've just generally worn baggy pants.
Right, but not the official 52.
Like, right. Like
Yeah.
the ones that were as big as my waist around the
Bigger.
ankles. Yeah.
Bigger. 38-inch waist, 52-inch leg holes. It's like
incredible.
A dress.
Incredible.
Oh,
There
90s.
was a kid named Sergey in Ridgely Middle who wore them, and I was just like, "Are they comfortable?" And he's like, "No."
Well, see, the thing is, it's good for a culture or a climate like LA.
Yeah.
Because if it rained and the bottom got wet, those things got so heavy.
Yeah.
They were just dragging off of you all the time.
Yeah,
It
it's
was never
best suited for a non-rain. But It's 95 degrees in LA today. I mean, it
beautiful.
doesn't feel like 95, but it's very hot, and I would not want to like cover my legs with.
That much material.
Well, I guess I
you're getting a
wouldn't
little
want to
air
be wearing
circulation.
pants, but at least you have the circulation, so
Right.
it does have a sort of like a added benefit to it.
It's like a dress for men
Yeah,
because then again,
it's like legit pantaloons.
the same logic goes to the rompin because it's comfortable, it's light. You're just like wearing this flowy one piece of fabric. Like,
Yeah,
it makes sense on a level.
yeah.
Not the level that's going to make me run out and buy one, but it makes sense that, it's something you could throw on and just like, oh, I'm out and about and buying groceries. Like, what do? We grab the jersey shorts and a t-shirt. It's just the same thing. You just throw it on and go out and do it. So,
By the way, anybody who is watching the live stream and having any troubles, I'm sorry.
yeah,
This doesn't seem to be on our end. This might be Facebook. This might be Time Warner. This might be
we're having some difficulties.
just the internet going crazy over cloud computing winning the Preakness.
Could be that.
But regardless,
we continue on.
we continue on.
One other thing I wanted to
if
talk
you missed
about.
any of this, you can check it out on Tuesday at otheanthem.com.
That's right.
Uh,
Well, one thing I want to talk about before we get into
Yes.
the topics of the week. I got super excited nerd boy status this week when I found out that Tom Hardy was announced that he was going to be playing Venom.
yeah.
And when I said something to you, you were like, oh, yeah, I heard that. But like I think it's just a level of nerddom that I love Venom, and I don't think that you are in the same boat.
No, I love Venom just fine. I think my excitement of it would get closer to it being released.
Okay, well, yeah.
Then like, because I mean, like, there's very few things. I understand. Like, you made it very clear to me. Like, Venom's my favorite. I love Venom. Tom Hardy is one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
The combination of those two things together equals
Something I would
excitement for
absolutely
me.
wanna see. Yeah.
Yeah, and if the same sort of thing happened on my side, then
Milana Weintraub and the big booty bum Brazilian competition movie. These two things together, Corey would have to go see it because it's a magical combination.
like the Yum Yum girl.
Yum Yum Girl. Milana Weintraub is Miss Yum Yum Girl. Like, I feel like that is something that you would have to.
I think a lot of
you'd have
people
to
would.
watch.
I think a lot of people would see that movie. I'm not the only one.
But it's two of your favorite things.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it makes sense to me. But I mean, like, at the same time, if you said that movie's not coming out for another year and a half, like, I'm like, oh, good, I have something to look forward to 2 years from now. Like,
And to be fair, I wanted to tell the story without getting into it, but if you read the actual Hollywood Reporter article, it says that the director is attached but not signed, and Tom Hardy is attached but not signed. But
Yeah.
the production company that's doing it is affiliated with his agent, so it was like a bulk deal.
what this probably sounds like to me is that they were maybe somebody was a little bit light on wanting to like actually sign a check
Right.
for the movie, like an investor. He's like, well, you have a lot of Tom Hardy might be involved.
Right.
Put out a video with Tom Hardy as Venom.
See what people say.
See what people say, and then that check, the ink on the check becomes a lot quicker.
Yeah. And
So-
maybe it worked. I hope that it worked because I really, really want this movie to happen. I think it would be fantastic. But so before we jump into the topics of the day, let us remind you that although we are streaming live on Facebook, as we do every single week now, you will be able to find this episode at otheanthem.com.
Which looks like it might be more possible for the people.
Yeah,
it seems
unfortunately.
it seems like the video is a little spotty today.
But while you're at otheanthem.com, make sure you do check out everything that we have to offer there, including the short films that are available there. You can check out all the previous podcast episodes. They're all available there. But also, go on over to the merch tab and get yourself an Oh The Anthem t-shirt. Now, Corey is wearing one of the fantastic t-shirts right now.
Baltimore Corner, where you get the straight dope.
And that is good for any day t-shirt. But you can also get your official Camden Yards wear there as well.
Of course, I'm wearing it today because it's Maryland Day.
It is Maryland Day.
So I have
Pimlico,
to
right?
I have to represent, even though I'm 3,000 miles away.
And
Beautiful Los Angeles, California.
But you can also get your Oh The Anthem gear for Camden Yards. Make sure you get your Drink Bow, Scream O, Play Ball t-shirt. Corey will be there repping it in like a week,
Yeah,
right?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Yeah, so
Wait.
coming up very soon.
Yeah, like a week and a half.
Week and a half. So make sure you get your T-shirt right now. If you order it today, you could probably get that in time to wear it to the ballpark and see Corey and his, and you guys can give each other a high five because
Windmill high five.
windmill high five,
Like Top Gun.
top and bottom. That's what you have to do, top and bottom. And of course, Corey, if you see him there at the ballpark, he will pause and take a picture with you. So feel free to approach him, especially if you're wearing your Earthy Anthem shirt.
Oh, and if you could just look like a huge fan in front of like everyone that I know and love that's with me at the game, like that would be, oh my God, it's Kobe! Like that would
extra fantastic.
Yeah.
So do you want to just stop for 1 second and reset and see if we can get this thing working?
I don't know if it's us.
Okay.
I really
it looks
don't.
like it's all right, but
I really think this is a Facebook /
streaming issue.
Yeah, and I don't think that resetting it and doing it again is necessarily going to be the thing that fixes it.
All right. Well, so everybody, hopefully you can see us. And hopefully
my hope is that just in the next 2 minutes here,
It's
it
gonna
just
straighten itself
clears itself out, and then we wouldn't have had to have done anything. But
All right, fair enough. So we have to get to the major topic of the week, and we talked about it last week. We talked about it the week before. We probably talked about it the week before that, and I don't know, probably every week since we've started doing this in 2016. But Trump is back in the news again.
yeah,
But there is a measure of hope, everyone.
a measure.
So although it may have seemed as though the impeachment of the president was a far cry and would never have happened, it turns out things are a little more, maybe a little more closer to happening than they would have seemed before.
Yes. So I will admit that it is definitely closer to happening now than it was before.
Right.
But I still don't think that people should get so excited about the idea of Trump being impeached anytime soon.
Okay. Why is that?
Because it's outrageously difficult to impeach the president. You've brought this up before.
Yeah.
It's beyond just the what can you prove aspect of it, which, as we know, in a divided country where you're hearing a lot of Democrats speak very loudly about this,
Yeah.
and a lot of Republicans just be super quiet about this, there doesn't seem to be a consensus of what we know to be true, or what we know to possibly be true, or what we suspect to be true, leading to direct charges.
Right.
And like a lot of people were very quick to like be like, well, Lester Holt got him when he said that he fired Comey because of him being a showboat and him investigating him and everything like that. That was pretty open and shut obstruction of justice.
Yeah.
And asking Comey in the Oval Office, as has been reported, to maybe let up on the investigation of Flynn.
Yeah.
That's also another one that's very close to
Obstruction
of justice.
Yeah.
The problem is, do you actually get brought in on that? Like, is that the type of charge? Like,
It is.
I mean, like it sort of all depends. There's a lot of like hanging chads here with whether or not it's straight up or down.
Here's the problem. Does Rod
Like
Rods...
so, for instance, just real quick, if the meeting between Trump and Comey,
Yeah.
let's say the two of them sat there and Comey said something about, that Flynn is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And you should probably let him go because he's going to be under investigation. This isn't going to stop.
Yeah.
And then Trump said something to him along the lines of, I understand you got to do your job. You got to do whatever it is. I don't know much about this, but I know Michael Flynn. I think he's a good guy. And, I can't see him doing anything that terrible.
That's not what he said, though.
Oh, I know. But I'm saying
That's not impeachable. Yeah.
if the actual conversation was more along that line,
Right.
which would speak to the thing of Comey saying that Trump asked him not to continue with the investigation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a line. If Trump directly said, you better stop this fucking investigation or else I'm just going to shit can you so fast.
Right.
That's obstruction of justice. That's clear. That's
Yeah.
textbook. If he goes, hey, he's a buddy, he's a friend, I think he's okay. I don't know anything about what's going on, but I don't think he should be the subject of this huge witch hunt if that's what's going on. That's a different thing. That's not.
No. That under the U.S. code is still obstruction of justice.
Oh, yes.
If you say that to me,
Right.
it's nothing. If a boss says that to an employee, that is obstruction of justice. So it doesn't
But
matter.
I'm saying there's lines here.
Yes, there's gradients.
What's a bigger case of jaywalking? Me running across 6 lanes of the 110,
Right.
or me crossing the street 10 yards away from a crosswalk at 2:00 in the morning when there's no traffic?
The jumping across lanes when there's traffic, but which one of those can you get written a ticket for?
More likely the one where I go across.
Which one can you be get written a ticket for?
You could be given a ticket for jumping across the 110.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, for running. So running across the 110 or moving across the street at 2:00 in the morning, not in a crosswalk, not while there's a walk signal. Which one of those can you get a ticket for?
You could technically get them for both.
Bam. So what is the difference between whether or not you get a ticket or not?
Right, but I'm saying
No. What is the difference? What determines whether or not you get a ticket?
because when the thing is impeach the president.
Yeah.
Let's say that
You're avoiding the question.
no.
You're avoiding the question.
Hold on.
Pivot.
Let's say I had 2 random people, 2 different cases. One ran across the 110, one ran across the street at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
The judge in both those cases issued the death penalty.
That's not.
Just be with me.
Yeah.
Just issued or life in jail.
Okay.
It said your crimes were so severe, you both deserve to spend life in jail.
Okay.
When I go to appeal this decision,
Yeah.
the person who ran across the street at 2:00 in the morning, as opposed to the person who did the 110,
Yeah.
is probably going to have an easier time
No.
of explaining to an appeal court
No.
why while what I did was technically to the letter of the law against the law, it wasn't as egregious as
No. Because in the end, your appeal is going to lie on the punishment. Did the punishment fit the crime? Or what did it violate the 8th Amendment? Was it cruel and unusual? Yes. So we'll send it back down for a new trial. So that is not the question. Did you break the law?
Yes.
So you can be found guilty, correct?
Right.
Okay. So then punishment is about something else. That's a different level. My point is, who decides whether or not
But
you get
at the end of the day, when we're talking about impeachment, we're talking about a punishment.
No. We're talking about a conviction, not a punishment. No. The punishment is automatic. The conviction is all that matters. Did you break the law? If so, then this is the punishment. That is it.
Yeah.
There is no option. Like the judge doesn't have the option of saying fine versus life in jail. If you are convicted, you are out because any conviction gets you out of office. So that's not you're going further into the discussion than you need to. My point is who decides whether or not what is the determining factor about whether or not you this is enough? The running across the 110 in the middle of the day or the 2 a.m. skipping across just short of the crosswalk. What's the determining factor?
Like what determines whether or not it's illegal?
It's always illegal.
Right.
What determines whether or not you get in trouble for it?
Whether or not you get caught.
Okay. But let's assume that, so that's number one.
Yeah.
But let's assume in both cases you've gotten caught. Now, what's the next determining factor?
Whether or not it was volition or of volition.
Nope. None of that matters. Who it is that is stopping you. Because you get a cop at 2 a.m. and he's like, hey, get home, be safe. You get a cop who cuts across the 110. You also maybe get a guy who pulls over like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
and then
go
drives
home.
away.
Yeah.
But you also can have the cop who chases you at 2:00 in the morning, tackles you because you were evading police officer.
Right.
And you could get the cop who stops you when you run across the 110. So the difference is who is enforcing the law. Now, in the impeachment proceedings, you might be in a good place if the person who's investigating you is your buddy Jeff Sessions, but he's had to recuse himself.
Yes.
You also might be in a good position if the House Republicans are doing an investigation and it's led by a buddy of yours, Devin Nunes.
Yeah.
But then he has to recuse himself.
Right.
So Jason Chaffetz steps up, and now it's looking like he's pretty compromised himself.
Yeah.
So those are all the cop who's like, hey, don't do that. Let's not do that again. Because then
Right.
you broke the law and maybe you got caught, but whether or not there are any consequences comes down to that. But now there's a new sheriff in town. There's a new cop on the beat. There's a new guy writing tickets.
Yeah.
Robert Mueller, former director of the FBI. Second longest serving director of the FBI.
Yeah.
Except for J. Edgar Hoover. the guy who they redefined the law about limiting the FBI directors, because they were like, even though he was in there under Republican and then Democrat, still probably too long. Like we need to cut this off. And he is now a special counsel to the DOJ, and he is handling the investigation, which bodes very well for those who are seeking justice, and maybe not so well for the president.
Well, let me ask you this. So this is all very legalese.
Sure.
So maybe you can help break this down in layman's terms for the people listening.
Okay.
What exactly does the special prosecutor mean? What can be expected of it? Sort of how long of a time frame are we looking at for him to do his job? Hypothetically, I mean, like it's all sort of...
So in our lifetimes, we've already had a special prosecutor or a special counsel.
Kenneth Starr.
Kenneth Starr. Now, what they called him was an independent counsel.
Yeah.
But these are all the same things. It can depend on who appoints him, under what law he's appointed, but essentially they're all doing the same job.
Isn't independent prosecutor more about like the amount of budget you have?
No. It's about who appoints it. So Clinton appointed an independent counsel. So that's what he became, because under the law, that's what they title it. When
right.
the president asked for it, it's a independent counsel. When the Department of Justice asks for it, when the acting attorney general or the attorney general in his powers does it, then it's a special counsel. But they are essentially the same person. They have all of the same powers. They become an attorney general that is not limited by state lines or by city lines. Like Rod Rothstein, who is now the acting attorney general, was formerly the U.S. attorney for Maryland, based in Baltimore. So he would handle almost any case that his office would handle any case that happened in Maryland. But if you went into Pennsylvania, now he and the guy in Pennsylvania are fighting over, or the Eastern District of Pennsylvania are fighting over who has jurisdiction here. Like the kidnapping started
where
in
did
Baltimore.
The crime happen, or where did the crime technically occur?
Kidnapping started in Baltimore, but you caught him in Pennsylvania. Well, I'm going to argue as Rod Rothstein that it's a Maryland case because it started here, and the kidnapping, the crime actually occurred here. So in any event, they have the same powers of a DOJ, an attorney general. Basically, they can subpoena, they can do, they can go across state lines, they can go anywhere they need to do to further the mission. They can also go out and subpoena people who wouldn't necessarily be subpoenable by other, like Rod Rothstein can't have a subpoena that goes over state lines. But when you don't have that limitation, you go to Maryland, you go to Virginia, you go to New York, you get whoever you need to get.
Right.
The other thing about the special prosecutor, the special counsel, is that they almost inevitably end up with charges. Now, I think we both listened to the podcast with Adam Carolla and Mark Gerges.
Yeah, Reasonable Doubt.
Reasonable Doubt. And that's one of the complaints Mark has is like whenever you put these people in place, usually charges come from it. I mean, Clinton had charges that came out of his Kenneth Starr investigation.
Yeah.
And his argument is that like once you give them that kind of authority, they're always going to find something. My point is, when it gets to the point that you need a special prosecutor, that's usually because there was something to be found. Yeah. And that's why charges always end up. And they're like, he complained it was like a big, expensive investigation. And it is. Because you're literally fighting against the federal government. When you call somebody in to testify, they are sitting there thinking, I'm going to get fired. Like, if I say what I really know, I'm going to get fired. And Clinton and Nixon and everyone in between, Reagan, have all said executive privilege. I don't have to give you documents. I don't have to give you tapes. I don't have to give you whatever. Because they want to interfere with the investigation. But Nixon, it led to impeachment. Clinton, it led to impeachment. Reagan, it nearly led to impeachment if Ollie North hadn't fallen on his sword.
See, but here's the thing. With the case of impeachment, I mean, we've never had an actual president thrown out of office.
No.
I mean, Nixon resigned prior to it. It's inevitable occurrence.
Before that, Andrew Johnson was impeached.
Yeah.
He fell one vote short of conviction in the Senate.
Yeah.
So he survived, and then he basically purged the Senate in the next election, which good old American politics. I love that. And then so we had a couple of other impeachment movements, but no one was ever impeached.
I mean, Clinton was impeached, but not like brought to. I mean, it never got even close to a conviction in the House or the Senate.
Before that, McKinley was under investigation, about to be impeached when he was assassinated, and they were just like, okay, well, we're just going to forget about it because you shot the president, so we let it go. But then Nixon was impeached. No, charges of impeachment were brought, and then he resigned before the impeachment could be finalized. Clinton was impeached.
Yeah.
But he survived the conviction.
The
in the Senate.
removal of office.
I remember being at home, laying on my couch, looking at the TV like in fact, I think my mom, props to my mom, because although my parents are very, very conservative and conservative Republicans, or at least they were before this past election, she told me to sit down and watch this because there was a chance that history was about to be made. And like we were watching the vote tally in the Senate, and they fell short of the vote, so they couldn't convict him. And he survived. And just like any other trial, there's double jeopardy. You don't get a second bite at the apple once you survive impeachment. So,
right. But here's the thing. We got a Republican House. We got a Republican Senate. To get the conviction in the Senate requires 2/3.
It does. Yeah.
So you're going to have to get 67 votes.
Yeah.
In order to convict.
Right.
I mean, obviously there's a lot to be told, and Mueller is going to have a lot more information that the everyday American is not going to have access to.
100%.
That will allow this case to unfold. But still, 67 is a large vote, especially when you have the entire, the majority of the Republican Party.
But I do think
I mean, you'd have to turn 27 people.
But so you only need a simple majority in the House.
Right.
It's a regular bill.
It's a straight up or down.
And I think the way that the healthcare bills have gone, there is doubt amongst Republicans.
Right.
And there are people.
Well, there's probably enough Republicans in the House to be able to turn it.
They're looking at their seats and they're saying, like, I'm already under threat. If I don't do this, I'm gone. Like, this is the last straw for me. Because I voted on healthcare, and luckily the Senate killed it, which it looks like they're going to do. But so I don't have to. I dodged that bullet. I got to cast the vote and still dodged the bullet. But impeachment is impeachment, and if we don't get the votes here, if I vote against it, that could be the reason I don't get sent back in 2018. So I think they get that. Our stronghold is, or the movement stronghold is Orrin Hatch in the Senate, because I posted this on Twitter before and on like the blog, and I think I said it in my Medium post. But like in the end, Orrin Hatch is a guy who I don't like because of his politics, but he is a law and order guy.
Yeah.
And if he looked at that and he would say, "You broke the law, you deserve to be kicked out. That's it."
Yeah.
And I don't care who you are. I don't care that you're either our party. Even if it was 1780 and it was like one president from one party, vice president from the other party, he's the dude who's like, well, we messed up. So the other party is going to get the presidency. Like, this is how it's going to work. But Orrin Hatch is the guy who will whip the votes, and I think he would get 2/3. If he felt as though the law had been broken, and it looks like it has, then he would whip the votes and get the 2/3.
Right.
And I think that what we're going to see is already stories are talking about how Pence was in the dark. He had no idea about any of these things. And you see the GOP circling around the guy that they want in the White House. Like, let's protect him. And then once Trump is gone or impeached, then we can...
There's a problem with this, though. Because couldn't you make the argument that if the administration intentionally tried to keep somebody on the outside...
Yeah.
That they are also sullied?
Right.
That the entire process by which they were brought into office.
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't have won if there wasn't interference. Let's say we could make that that direct correlation.
Well, and that's not even the question now. As Olbermann put this week, the question isn't about Russia anymore. The question's about interfering with the Russia investigation.
Right.
That's what he'll be impeached on now. It has nothing to do with Russia. But
he'll be impeached over Comey more than he will be impeached by anything that happened.
Exactly right.
Between Carter Page and
There may have been
Moscow.
a lot of smoke and no fire, but by you putting up a fence between us and the smoke, you have now broken the law, and that will be what brings you down.
Right.
What did they say about Nixon? It's never the crime; it's always a cover-up.
Yeah,
that's really what happened. So that took down Nixon, and it may take down Trump.
I just fear, like I know I said this prior to the special investigator to you, and you casually agreed with me, which was I think there's more likelihood that people overthrow the government and kill Trump than him getting impeached. And
I agreed with you then, but I've changed my perspective now.
So you think that the odds of him getting impeached are astronomically higher than this time last week?
I mean, they were talking about like Vegas odds of like 150 to 1.
Yeah.
Like astronomically low. I think you're at 50-50 now. Because I think that because again, it's not going to be about Russia. It's going to be about Comey and how you handled the investigation. And Robert Mueller. Robert Mueller is saying that he met with the Senate Investigative Committee, and when they came out, the Senate members gave a statement that said this is no longer an investigation. It's no longer a looking for details. It's a criminal investigation. So there is something there, and we don't know it yet, but I think there's going to be enough. And if you listen to Stephen Dworkin, who's with some sort of Democratic organization, they are saying that over the next week they're going to bring out evidence that implicates not only Trump, not only Pence, but every member of the upper echelon of the campaign, most of the current serving secretary level positions, and the House leadership and some of the Senate leadership.
Because you and I had both heard on different sort of occasions a light rumbling of, if you think Trump is guilty of anything to do with Russia, you should see what has been happening with Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell for many, many years now.
Yeah. So
I guess the real question then would be, just as putting on your constitutionalist hat.
Yeah.
Let's say there was direct collusion between Trump and Russia.
Okay.
And it ties in all the players that we have sort of had on the list already.
Okay.
Including Pence. So Trump, Pence, Flynn, Paul Manafort, Jared Kushner. Tillerson.
Yeah.
Everyone down the line. So the whole administration is now
sullied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the course of that investigation, getting up until that point, you've also seen an outrageous amount of correlation between Russia and McConnell and Paul Ryan and whoever else.
Right.
Top level Republicans in the House and the Senate. Do you think that any kind of a movement towards impeaching the president also comes with the caveat of trying to get all the ducks in a row prior to...
No, I think that what would Mueller...
Because, I mean, like, how would you... you would essentially be going, like, if Trump and Pence fell at the same time, there's no passing, impeaching Trump and giving it to Pence and then impeaching him and then...
No, you would have a joint trial where everyone co-defendants all at the same time.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, if, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, for instance, are on the periphery.
Right.
Let's just use Paul Ryan because he's the House Speaker and he'd be the next in the line of succession.
Third in line of succession, yeah.
So it wouldn't make sense to kick out the two of them, still have something open on Paul Ryan, give him the presidency and impeach him.
Well, so you can impeach congressmen, though. And what I imagine would happen is that if Robert Mueller did what Robert Cheek would do, he would open an investigation, file charges, which would then start the impeachment proceedings, and then let things come to light during the trial. And when it comes to light during the trial that Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan are involved, there's no way for them to stop the proceedings in the middle. Like, you can't just end the impeachment because now it's leaning towards you being dirty too. But if you try to get juice on everybody, you'll never get it'll never be a closed case. You'll never be able to move forward. So you start the trial, you start the proceedings, and you get somebody up there who testifies and says, oh, yeah, and I also gave $10 million to the Speaker's office for his reelection campaign, and we funneled money into the not the President of the Senate, the Majority Leader of the Senate's campaign, and just let them all go down. Because then what that does, once that happens, now Paul Ryan can no longer be in charge of the investigation, and he doesn't get a vote on impeachment. So when you're talking about needing 50-50, you start cutting out those
cutting out votes, and
the majority just gets easier and easier to get. And with any luck, you're also cutting out senators, and that makes it easier to get in the Senate. So if I was Robert Mueller, that's what I would do. I would move forward with the impeachment of everyone that you can get. Probably, Flynn's not going to be impeached. He would just have criminal charges. But the president, the vice president, probably the secretary of state, probably some of the upper echelon advisors, although you don't really impeach them. Again, it's criminal charges and they have to give up their job. But you do that and then let the investigation go in public where it will.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, somebody's up there talking about Paul Ryan, or they're up there talking about the majority whip, or they're up there talking about, Devin Nunes. No. I was in constant contact with him. And in fact, I said I needed information. And 2 hours later, he brought me the information I asked for. And just so happens that that's the date that he went to the White House to review stuff. That, and you start taking down congressmen, you start taking down senators. And next thing you know, everything's toppled. The bigger question, which we talked about last week, is what happens when you lose the president, the vice president, you lose the speaker, the president pro tem of the Senate, who is elected by the senators. That's Orrin Hatch. He would become president. Theoretically, he's not involved. I haven't heard anything that suggests that he was involved. But the majority leader of the Senate, the majority leader of the House, all of these people are out. And at some point, you have to say, just call a new election. Just call a new, and I would hope that Orrin Hatch is that guy who says that this entire thing has been poisoned. So the well is so poisoned, we have to fill it in and dig a new one because there is no way to get all of these people out. And then with any luck, all of you will stop voting for these same assholes over and over and over again. Send back 495 new House members and 100 new senators and a new president and a new vice president who have never been involved in any of this before.
So one other, if
I will be eligible in 2020, by the way. So I'm just putting it out there. 2020, I'm eligible for the presidency. So
just in case, just following along this line of inquiry here.
Yeah.
Do you think that at a certain point, things that happened during the Trump administration become questioned or put for? I mean, so take Gorsuch.
Right.
If the whole Trump administration falls,
right.
If the extended Republican leadership also falls, and the Republican leadership was the one that was holding up a vote on Merrick Garland, and then bringing it to the Trump administration,
and then changing the Senate rules to get him in. If I was Merrick Garland, and he seems to be a man of principle, I wouldn't say that he has anything to do with anything untowards. If he does, if he knew that all this was going on, well, he could be out too, because you can also impeach Supreme Court justices.
You mean Gorsuch?
Gorsuch, sorry. Yeah. Gorsuch. It seems to be a man of principles, but you can impeach a Supreme Court justice if it comes to it. So if you decide to do that, that's a way to go. But if he is a man of principles, I think that once he saw all that going down, then you step down and you tell the incoming administration, like, listen, I was there. I've done the briefings. I've done the training. So if you would like to offer me, that's fine, and you can offer me for my seat again, or don't.
Yeah.
But how do you live the next 40 years on the bench knowing that this is how you got there?
Yeah.
But constitutionally, there's nothing that can be done. Once you're there for life. Unless
he committed a crime by which he.
Yeah. But like I said, I think it's also the kind of thing where public pressure can be put on the court, Gorsuch in particular, and just like you're supposed to be this high constitutionalist, and yet you are a part of this thing that has rocked our republic.
Yeah,
and
the very basis of the Constitution.
In order to fill it, you need to step down, and that doesn't mean, like, usually when you step down, it doesn't mean you can't be offered again.
Yeah.
Usually it means that, though, I'm retiring for life. That's what I'm doing. But step down and offer yourself to the new administration, and then if they decide to put you up again, go for the majority or go for the supermajority vote. If you can't get 66, then you don't get to become a Supreme Court justice.
Did you hear about the Merrick Garland play though?
With the play,
I heard talk that Trump was going to nominate Merrick Garland as the head of the FBI.
Oh, okay.
After he fired Comey. Because it would let Democrats realize that he was, like putting in somebody from the opposite party.
Right. Yeah.
But apparently the long con on this was nominate him for head of the FBI, let him get confirmed, and then fire him. And he has to resign his seat on the 10th Circuit.
Right. To get into the
FBI. And then as soon as he's resigned and he's in the FBI,
appoint somebody new.
Fire him, appoint somebody new to the 10th Circuit, and bring in somebody realistic for the...
So I shared something on Twitter, and everybody should check it out, at Robert N. Cheek, at LegendCB5, or at the Anthem. But it's about when you can look at things that Trump is doing, and they look like things that tyrants do. When Erdogan comes to D.C. and orders his strongmen to beat protesters, American protesters, in the city of Washington, and just he's allowed to say, yeah, go get them. And the video came out that he actually directly ordered it. His security guard leaned in the car and he pointed at them, and then out of the car, they all go running across the street and they're beating people. This is what strongmen do. This is what tyrants and dictators do. And this is the kind of shit this is what we hear about Trump, where you're like, that is some dictatorial shit.
Yeah.
This is what you do when you are, and I'm about to break Godwin's law. I know, but I'm going to do it anyway. This is the 1930s Germany. This is early 1930s Germany, where the Nationalist Socialist Party had used the democratic system to rise to power and then started using that system to eliminate. Like, that is straight out of Adolf Hitler's playbook.
Yeah.
Get him, because I can't get him out of the court. Okay. So if I give him a position of power that he would certainly take and then fire him, which I'm allowed to do, he can't get that seat on the court back unless I nominate him. And instead I'll nominate somebody else. That is Hitler stuff. By the way, that's also Franklin Roosevelt stuff. He tried to pack the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Like, this is what you do.
Well, he also tried to add seats.
He did. He wasn't trying to kick people out. He was trying to get a majority by adding 6 new seats,
Yeah.
which would have given him the majority of the seats. But this is what strongmen, and I'm throwing Franklin Roosevelt in there, guys who say, I have a plan. You won't stand in my way. I'm going to accomplish it. This is what we're doing anyway. This is what they do.
Yeah.
And that is a scary proposition. And, you know, when Jared Kushner is in there telling him to attack back when Robert Mueller gets appointed. Like, no, fire him. You have the authority to do it. Fire him. Don't let him do that. Don't sign that. What are you thinking? Like,
Yeah.
you look like a dictator. And, I mean, you said earlier, what's the likelihood? Impeachment or the people rising up? 3% of the U.S. population supported, of the British colonies population supported independence. And that's all that it took, 3%. And if you don't think that 3% of people are fired up enough to do something about it now, you have lost track of reality. But all it is taking is for it's not incremental steps. There's going to be one big step. And when that step's taken, that's when people get angry.
I think that the part of the reason why I bring up the idea of like revolution is that it seems like at a certain point, Trump firing Comey, if it happened a little bit later on in the timeline, would probably make more sense. But say the special prosecutor is ready to bring charges against everybody, and then Trump fires him the day before it happens. That's the kind of thing that happens where everyone's just like, fuck this. And just starts marching towards the White House with pitchforks and fire, you know?
And I mean, yes. And that's what I mean by incremental. Like, doing these incremental things, people are upset and we are getting tired. Everybody is so tired of being so upset for so long.
Yeah.
But all it would take is one big step where only the most ardent supporters can say, I can justify it. I mean, Anderson Cooper said to Jeffrey Lord, like, Trump could get up and take a dump on his desk and you would defend him doing that.
Yeah.
Like, there are always going to be those people. But the moderate people, even moderate Republicans, even conservative Republicans who are not crazy conservative Trumpers, will reach a point with a non-incremental step like that they'll get upset. And there will be pitchforks and gun battles in the street.
Yeah.
And I predicted it in 2012, and it didn't happen. But I also predicted it in my book, The Movement Insurrection, which people should check out.
Yeah. It's there
Just
somewhere.
so happen to have a copy of it right here. It's available on Amazon. Go to otheanthem.com or robertncheek.com/books, and you can pick up a copy of that and just see what's going to happen in the next few months. Like, that's what I predict. By the way, I also talk about how North Korea causes the conflict, which brings about the revolution in the U.S. Strange.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a soothsayer of some kind.
One last quick thing before we move on.
Yeah.
What do you think? When is Trump's out point? So, like, at a certain point, things are going to keep building and building and building.
Yeah.
And then it's just going to be the snowball rolling down the hill. Mm-hmm. And it's gained maximum velocity, and there's no stopping it.
Yeah.
And if he gets impeached,
right,
and if it got through the Senate and the House, then jail time follows that.
Yeah.
So there is hypothetically a time before where he can bail out, not get charged, live his usual rich man life in New York,
right,
and probably make some sort of moment like, I'm tired of everybody, always coming down on me and attacking me, and I was just trying to make America great again, and you all can't get over this stupid Russia thing, so I'm resigning the presidency and I'm giving it to Pence, and you can push Pence around all you want.
Yeah.
And then, Trump news and whatever else he comes up with after that.
I think that there is a point at which that happens. He doesn't get impeached and he doesn't get convicted, because when it looks like they have the vote for impeachment, he pulls a Nixon and just rolls out.
Yeah.
I
mean, is there? I never really looked into it, but is there a reason that somebody would impeach or wouldn't just go through with the charges against him after he's resigned?
In fact, they were planning on doing that to Nixon, but Ford pardoned Nixon as his very first act as president.
Right.
And in that case, though, you had Ford, who was probably innocent of all things. He wasn't even involved in the 1970 election or the 68 election. So he had nothing to worry about by pardoning him. I don't think that happens again, because if Trump is dirty, Pence is probably dirty too, which means that they're just going to have to fight it all the way out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they would pursue the charges. They are criminal charges. He would have to go face prosecution. But the question is, how much do we care after that point? You know what I mean? Like, at some point, people are just going to say, all right, we've gotten rid of Trump. Forget about that. Let's move on to Pence. Let's get Pence out. Let's get Ryan out. Let's get the new elections or whatever we're going to get. So I think that's kind of where things are lying now. That's basically where we're at. But I do believe he would bail out. He would take the I'm tired of being you're not going to have old Tricky Dick to kick around anymore. Like, I'm tired of I didn't need to go into retirement. I put all my businesses on hold. I'm losing millions of dollars. I came in here a billionaire, and I'm walking out less rich than I was before. And I'm not going to stand here and let you kick me around. So I'm out.
Right.
And so it's Vietnam. You can exit, make it look like you won. If there comes a point where he thinks he can get out and make it look like he was a winner, they're out. But I did see something earlier this week that said all Fox News has to do is talk about how brave it would be for him to resign, and then if that goes on for a few days, he might actually just resign.
Yeah. Did you see any of the Fox News coverage throughout this whole?
I mean, I've seen
last 2 weeks. By the way,
I've seen some of it. But in the end, it's all the same stuff, right? It's literally all the same things. So they're just defending him, and both trying to defend him, but at the same time look like they're a real news channel. Yeah. So. But what specifically did you say?
Oh, just people, like, I feel like I saw a clip of Hannity just essentially saying, like, why are people spending so much time talking about this whole
Yeah.
Nobody has shown any proof they've hacked election machines.
Right.
And you can't make somebody decide to vote, like what is the point of this? And don't you think governments have been doing this for years? I think it's ridiculous. I'm not even going to spend time talking about it.
Yeah.
Like that. Essential.
By the way, when you see guys in rompims this summer, remember that you can't force anybody to do anything.
Right.
Social
you can't just
media,
spend a whole shit ton of money and make people buy a romper.
Yeah. And so when you see a guy in a romper, I want you to look at that and think about Russians don't have to hack voting machines.
Right.
They can put up enough fake news stories that people are like, well, I can't butter emails.
Yeah.
Butter emails. I can't vote for her.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, not that I would have voted for Hillary either, but I mean, in the end.
I can't. I think the point that a lot of people have made that if the shoe was on the other foot, if Hillary was the one who had all this noise about Russia,
impeachment would have already happened.
Yeah. Oh, it would have been done day one.
Yeah.
They would have taken whatever little bit of smoke they could. Chaffetz would be literally ejaculating on the floor of Congress.
Onto his new foot cast that he got thanks to socialized healthcare.
Just trying to get a piece of Hillary.
Yeah.
In this Russia investigation.
They did 800 Benghazi investigations. Came out with nothing. And we've had 2 Russia investigations ongoing with 1.5 staffers or whatever they're. Which is another good reason that Mueller's on. He'll be able to appoint staff. He'll be able to take and get a whole thing rolling. So that'll be good.
And he doesn't have an unlimited budget, but he has essentially
kind of a blank check.
Yeah.
DOJ, because what they would you don't want to see from the DOJ is for him to say, well, I wish I had more resources to the press. Because now it looks like the DOJ is interfering with the investigation.
Right.
What's the point of having the special counsel if you're not going to give him the resources? So, but not all news is bad from the Trump administration because they're bringing in new blood.
Yeah.
Sheriff Clark from Wisconsin is coming in to support the Department of Homeland Security.
And if you don't know who Sheriff Clark is,
first of all, what rock have you been living under? I can't tell you.
He is the man who dresses like General Patton, despite the fact that he's never served in the military.
Yeah, and a lot of military guys are getting real upset because he's not using any actual military badges or medals.
Right.
But they're made to look so much like the military stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's stuff that his department does, or that the Michigan or the Wisconsin State Police do, or awards that he gets that he turns into
It's
a ribbon.
essentially Flair.
Yeah.
He's essentially an Applebee's employee.
He is that's exactly what he is. He is an Applebee's waitress. But he the rudest Applebee's waitress ever.
What I want right now is I want a picture of Sheriff Clark's face on Jennifer Aniston from
Waiting?
Office Space.
Oh, Office Space.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. Oh, what is the name of the place in Office Space? It's not Shenanigans.
No, it's oh shit.
starts with a B, maybe. It was an actual restaurant, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, there was one in New York, right around the corner from Hofstra, on the way to the Roosevelt Field. Yeah, the mall. Can't remember. Anyway,
Bojangles?
No, what's Bojangles? That's a Southern chicken joint. I'm insulted. But no, nonetheless. So Sheriff Clark, who in his last month as the sheriff of that county in Wisconsin, had 7 people die in his jail, 2 of which died from dehydration, which I don't know about you. There are a lot of ways that I would be okay with dying.
Yeah.
Things I don't want to do to die.
Fire?
Fire would be the worst.
Yeah.
Drowning also probably sucks a lot.
Yeah.
Dehydration, though, high on the list.
I think anything that, I mean, like, if I were to get stabbed and die almost immediately, that would be okay. But, like, the stabbing where it's like, I got you 18 times, but not directly in any organs that kill you. So you're just, like, lying on the street, like, slowly bleeding out.
No, but see, the good thing about that, we are from Baltimore, so the good thing about that, though, is you'd go into shock. So you wouldn't feel any pain. It would actually make you kind of high. So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Somebody needs to go get stabbed tonight.
You reach that point where you're just like, oh God, I am bleeding a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody call an ambulance, please? I don't think this can't be good. This can't be a good situation.
This doesn't look promising.
Right. But the dehydration, your body starts shutting down, so you don't even get the blessed shock. You are just suffering all the way until the end.
Yeah.
And you're in a jail cell, and you're banging on the door so long as you have strength, and shouting and hoping that someone just brings you water. But you don't get water. You die from not drinking water. And your system shut down, and slowly but surely you just waste away until finally you go to sleep and you don't wake up. No thank you.
Yeah.
Fire would be horrible.
By the way, our new assistant to Homeland Security.
Yes. This happened in his jail. Also, an infant died because he let the mother give birth in jail because he wanted the message of taking the baby away from her. And like, you're never getting this child back. And then the baby ended up dying because she didn't have the baby in a hospital. So this is the guy who's now at Homeland Security.
Yeah.
But he's also the ceremonial head of Blacks for Trump. Just to send the message that there are black people who support our president and the GOP as a whole.
And if you don't believe it, you can see a lot of Blacks for Trump signs at Trump rallies held mostly by white people.
Yeah, not a single black face there. They don't want to actually show the black people. They just want to show the Blacks for Trump sign.
Yeah.
But you had an interesting thought about the GOP bringing in the black faces, right?
Yes. I have two related thoughts to Sheriff Clark. Number one, I remember way back when in the day, it was probably 2006 or 7 or so. Mm-hmm. I went to a Maryland Republicans meeting in Timonium because they had a little house that they purchased for the Maryland Republican Party. And I was sitting there. And
surprised they had the money for that. Doesn't seem like they have the number of people they'd need to get those kind of numbers in.
They no, because there's a lot of well-to-do Republicans in Baltimore County.
Fair enough. Yes, fair enough.
It's
not the number; it's how much money those few people have.
Exactly. The thing is that I heard a casual conversation happening where somebody said, "I was really glad that we brought Dr. Carson into the fold."
Meaning
Dr. Ben Carson.
Right. Yes.
Because it makes it seem like we're less white. And that was like nearly a direct quote. And I said to myself, I was just like, wow, that's kind of dark. But here's the thing. It just takes one person to do that. Yep. One person to be the bad guy. To be like, I'm going to racially target a black guy to be part of our group. So it makes us look more open and welcome to everybody. And then everybody else gets to enjoy the fruits of, I'm not racist. If I was racist, why would we have Dr. Ben Carson be our... Or if
Now-
I'm racist, why would Sheriff Clark be so on our side?
Exactly.
Takes one person to go like, hey, you don't have to be you can be a Republican. We'll take care of you. Like, we care about the things that you care about.
Right.
Wine and dine them a bit, sort of push on whatever issue is the connection between the two.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure like a lot of Democrats, hard and fast Democrats, would love the idea of a flat tax system.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, I could convince a lot of Democrats to be Republicans just with the idea of a flat tax. It's not
If
realistic.
that's all you told
yeah.
them. If that's all you told them about, like, this is the new direction that we're going in. The
Right.
party as a whole. This is our major.
If I had
issue.
Dr. Ben Carson sitting down across from me and he said, like, man, I really wish I just wasn't I spent so much money going through medical school and going through college, and my student loan debt is outrageous.
Right.
And, now I'm getting taxed like crazy, and I wish I just could keep a little bit more. It's like, we at the Republican Party
yeah,
believe in more of an even distribution in the way people are taxed. Well, that makes an awful lot of sense. It's like, well, all you have to do, Mr. Carson, is sign this contract.
no, I feel like it's more of like the devil's contract
Yeah.
for your soul, where it's like,
Here's
all you have to do is shink.
Here's a pen made out of a bone. Go ahead, sign it.
Oh, it doesn't seem to have any ink. Prick. All right, they're in blood.
Just a little blood,
Just a
that'll
little
do
blood
it.
will sign it. But yeah, I mean, like that. I imagine that again, there are Democrats who you could get on your side for one
there
issue.
have been a ton of people that I have heard basically using the "I'm not racist, I have a black friend" rationale,
Right, yeah.
with specifically Ben Carson,
Yeah,
saying the Republicans aren't racist. Ben Carson is a nominee for president.
sure.
How could a black person decide that?
Head the party. He wants to head the party.
Why would he want to run for president of this party if it was so bad?
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, guess that's a reasonable point. I can't argue. Why one black person who joins your party is.
I always remind people, and keep this in mind, guys. It doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. It matters the color of your money. That's really because Ben Carson didn't join the Republicans because he got duped. He is rich, and he joined a party of rich people. And when they were finally willing to let him in, they were like, well, your green has finally overcome your brown. So welcome to the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Sheriff Clark, not a very wealthy man, but very outspoken, and he's got what would you call it? Like juice. He's got juice with the public.
Yeah.
So that has a value. So your juice now overcomes your brown skin, and we'll welcome you in.
I'm going to also point this out to you. The state of Wisconsin is well known to being one of the most even-handed distributions between the Republicans and Democrats.
Right.
It's of all the states in the country, it's the closest to 50-50.
Yeah.
They fight all the time, and the state house of Wisconsin is very
It goes back
even.
and forth. Yep.
But the power that the Republican corner of Wisconsin has managed to put together is really incredible. I mean, compared to how other states that have huge majorities aren't able to put together a group like this.
Yeah.
You got Paul Ryan, you got Scott Walker, you got Reince Priebus, you got Sheriff Clark.
Yep.
You have a number of well-known and well-respected personalities that have come out of just the small little corner of Wisconsin and have run shit for a decade now.
Do you know why they get popular? Because I guess the mantra is, if you can win in Wisconsin, then you are the kind of Republican that we need out in the forefront, because it is so split. So
Right.
if you can get some of those conservative Democrats, we need you out in front.
But what's so interesting is that they've come up with a manner of policy where it used to be like when Bob Ehrlich won,
right,
he was always sort of a moderate Republican,
right,
but he had to be even more careful to stay centrist.
right. While he was,
I can't push anything, even if I really believe it, that is too far right, because the state house will just knock the ever living shit out of me for the rest of my time here.
Yeah,
So while when most Republicans win a blue state or a Democrat wins a red state, they come to the center to try and find peace within the party.
yeah,
when you got a state like Wisconsin, which is so centrist
Yeah.
and has such an even distribution, the Republicans who win there, the Paul Ryans, the Scott Walkers, they go hilariously to the right.
Yeah.
Like all the way to the right.
But they continue to win.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They continue, and because you go to the right and you get moderate Republicans and moderate Democrats who are like, well,
Yeah.
he's still doing a good job, even if it isn't the job that I would want him to do. He's a little anti this or anti that, but they don't touch big issues. When the State House talks about marriage equality, Scott Walker doesn't join the discussion. When they talk about closing Planned Parenthood clinics or abortion as a whole, you don't see Scott Walker joining into that discussion because what he wants to do is wait for the bill to get to his desk. I'm going to let you two eat each other alive in the State House. And if you eke something out, then I have to get involved.
Right.
But I'm not going to throw my weight into that and just lose the Democratic support that I have.
Yeah.
There would be no reason.
But he's
to do
had
that.
enough things that have gone on his side, like the whole teachers
union right to work stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like there have been many things where he's stepped so far to the right that it has antagonized his entire
It has.
Democratic side of the vote.
And yet, he is still the governor of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And he's up for election in 2018. So if you live in Wisconsin, maybe time to think about that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I doubt he runs again.
Maybe not. He might get a Trump appointment. Who knows?
I think he finds some way to spend more time with the kids.
Sure. Does he have kids?
But
Spawn of Satan.
I mean, like, I feel like he has to.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to get elected without, like, the family.
Ooh, trust me, I know. God.
But, God, I feel sorry for that wife.
I know, right? Can you imagine?
God, he's so dumb looking.
Can you imagine? And your kids, you're just looking at that man like, you're going to be the father of my children.
He makes more faces that remind me of Trey Mancini than any politician.
Thinking about M&M's.
Yeah. Man, watching the Orioles game yesterday, seeing Mancini like get on base and like just no change to his expression. It was just all fudge all the time. He's like, man, fudge is good.
Yes. Well, but speaking of Baltimore, I think before we get out of here, we should take a trip down to the Baltimore Corner.
Where you get the straight dough.
Exactly right. So a big story. Hey, yeah, Baltimore Corner T-shirt, rocking today. There was a big story this week It was a big story that came out in the Baltimore Brew, and then I saw almost no traction from anyone else, as to be expected with the media in Baltimore. So the camera issue that had been taken up on appeal was sent back with instructions to the Circuit Court for Baltimore City, which had then basically said, okay, this is the way in which you can have a speed camera program. And so new Mayor Pugh.
Can we just for half a second back up?
Yeah.
So I can give a quick
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
explanation of what had happened with the Baltimore City speed camera program.
Yeah.
The first time around, what was it? There were kickbacks.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first time around that Baltimore had a speed camera program, it was determined that the vendors who sold all the equipment and the infrastructure and everything that went along with it had also given huge amounts of money to Democratic leadership in the city of Baltimore to get the program in a very almost hilariously quid pro quo that you never see. It's almost never this straightforward.
It was worse than The Wire fictionalized it, which was pretty straightforward.
Right.
But yeah.
Fast forward to a couple years later, Rawlings Blake announced that she has found a new vendor for the speed cameras and the red light cameras.
Yeah.
That there was no impropriety that happened here. It was a completely blind pitch process.
Bidding, yes. They bid blindly.
Yeah. And we have picked Xerox, who has, as we've gone through, seen no impropriety.
Yeah.
There's no donations to anybody in City Hall or to the mayor with them. This is just, they had the best plan, and we went with it.
Yeah.
And then signed the world's dumbest contract ever.
Yeah.
For the speed cameras, which would go off when people were sitting at red lights.
Yep.
People would get things in the. I got one in the mail that said I was going 67 miles per hour when I was stuck in traffic with my brake lights on.
Yeah.
I had to. And that was a hilarious ticket to fight because I had to go into the courthouse and say to the judge, how do I get a ticket
For 67.
for 67 when it's clear that I'm standing still with my brake lights on?
Yeah.
And he's like, do we have an officer to explain for the state why that happened? And they're supposed to bring in the officer who's watching the video.
Yeah.
And then the state's attorney goes, or district attorney goes, yeah, so we have been told by Baltimore City that there was no officer on duty at the time, and this was an automated
Yeah.
notice, and that we are not contesting this ticket. You know, like he can go. But I still had to take off a day from work, go in, say, this looks hilarious, and then have to wait until the DA basically says, like, oh, yeah, so nobody actually was watching that. So.
Yeah. And they could have said that before you had to go into court.
Right. Could have done that
before.
at any point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, oh well. Sorry about your loss.
We sent you an incorrect speed ticket in the mail. Here is proof that we are not responsible. Please go down to the courthouse at your earliest possible convenience to clear this up.
Yeah.
We're sorry for the inconvenience, blah, blah, blah. No, they made me go to court. They made me take off work. They made me do everything to fight it. It was horribly inept. It was always wrong. And then what became the most hilarious part about it is when Baltimore City had to shut it down for bad press, essentially, of so many people getting these tickets like I did.
Yeah.
There was one in particular where there was video from somebody's like house, like a security cam video that showed somebody sitting at a red light, parked.
Yeah.
Like just 0 miles per hour at a red light and watching the camera go off like every 30 seconds.
Just capturing people.
Capturing whoever it was.
Yeah.
And that was all. That was national news. It was all over the place. Rawlings Blake tried to fire them.
Yeah.
And there was a provision in the contract that wouldn't allow them to be fired.
They had to be paid out.
They had to be paid out. And if you were going to stop the monthly maintenance of the program, you had to pay out like 80% immediately.
Yeah.
Like a 10-year contract, you had to pay 8 years worth of that second that you canceled it.
Yep.
And you would, over the course of the next 10 years, be responsible for the other 20%. But we require 80% up front for the cancellation of the contract.
Great contract.
Yeah. Which basically fucked the school system and everybody but the police budget.
Everybody, literally everyone but the police, because the police get a blank check. What's the murder number in Baltimore now?
Well, I don't know, like 124 or something like that.
I think we're in 30s.
Are
now.
we?
Well, so in the 130s. So that police blank check really doing a lot.
Even if we're not in the 130s, we will be soon enough that this.
Well, Memorial Day weekend is coming up.
By the time this podcast posts, we could be well over 130.
So after all of the legal wrangling, the program was rebid, and it said this is the limitations of the system. This is how it has to be laid out. So they rebid it, and it was a completely independent, blind bidding contract process. And it just so happens that the largest campaign contributor to Mayor Pugh's campaign happened to win the $650,000 speed camera contract.
Yeah.
Which isn't actually worth $650,000. It's worth far more than that.
Yeah.
Because what happens is they send you the ticket, and if you just pay it, they just keep the money. They send a portion of it to the state, to the city.
Yeah.
But there's an agreed upon amount that they just split. Now, if you go contest it, then you end up going to have to pay more.
But it is the language in these contracts are incredible.
Yeah.
If you've never read up on this or heard about this, you'd be interested in this information because it's we require a certain number of tickets to be written every single month as the vendor, not as the city saying we expect this amount of tickets based off of your placement of cameras and stuff like that. The vendor has a minimum requirement, and if the vendor's minimum requirement isn't met, like for a month, everyone drives safely and nobody goes through a red light and nobody speeds.
Yeah.
The city is responsible for paying the minimum that the vendor would reach.
Yep.
With
And
the thought
up to
that
that.
the
So if
vendor
you-
is always going to get their money.
Yes.
The city may never get their money.
And they're not responsible for mistakes. Again, you or I may have to take a day off of work and go to court and do the whole 9, and then we're found that it's a vendor problem. We don't get money back from the vendor. We don't get money from the city. We don't get anything. It's just a, sorry about that.
Also, they are blanketed protection.
Yes.
You can't sue them
Right.
for their...
Well, no, you can. But when you win, if you win, the city pays instead of the vendor.
But
So-
no, you sue the city.
Right, you would sue the city itself.
You don't sue the vendor. So if the vendor is responsible for the camera that goes off when it's not supposed to,
Yeah.
you can't sue them and get the money.
Yes.
You sue the city, and then the city pays for it out of no money that the vendor.
Yes.
The vendor is guaranteed its money.
Right.
And it's one of those. I've liked for a while. I like the idea of public-private partnerships.
Yes.
If a private company wants to build a freeway that goes from downtown to Hollywood,
Yeah.
and every single time you drive on it, you have to pay $5, but it's going to be immaculately paved. It's going to be the
Well kept.
nicest road
Yeah.
in all of Southern California. Traffic is not going to be an issue because we have tow trucks at every 100 yards ready to tow people out immediately if there's a problem.
Right.
You're allowed to go faster on this road than you would.
'Cause it's a
We
private road?
guarantee travel to Hollywood in 10 minutes, regardless of the time of day.
Yeah.
Those originally were nice movements.
Yeah.
Because at the very beginning of it, it worked the way it was. You pay a certain amount. Over the course of time, it recoups the initial investment of building the highway.
And plus some.
Plus some.
Yeah.
And then as you've reached a certain period of time, the cost to maintain is so low and the value that you receive is so high that it becomes a worthy investment.
Right.
But now, with how integrated some of these companies are into the way that business is run in large cities and states in the country, there's so much protection.
Oh yeah. You get
In
your
the
money up
contracts-
front. You always get your money.
Boeing gets, if we could find a contract for just one airplane that Boeing released to the U.S. Army or whatever,
Yeah.
it would blow your mind the things that they're allowed
yeah.
to write in there. And the reason why they're allowed to write them in there is because I, the CEO of Boeing, John Boeing, wrote an outrageous check to 18 members of Congress.
Yep.
And they're just going to let that one pass because...
As if any of them actually read it.
Right.
Their assistant says this is what it says, and they're like, good enough for me.
Yeah.
The 10 interns read it. They gave me a summary. I'm giving you a breakdown, and then you get to go vote on it.
10 interns who didn't go to law school, too,
Right.
by the way. Like, who don't
Who are
understand...
freshmen in college.
Yeah, who don't understand what, like, a structured annuity of benefit accrual
Yes.
is. It's just, like, language that's written like that, you get like, oh, well, I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
So yeah, as corrupt as these things could be, now it's actually literally in your face corrupt. The biggest campaign bundler, First Pew, gets the thing. We are right back to the original contract where
Right.
it's like pay for play. You support my campaign, you get the contract. I wonder how long this one will last. I'm glad I'm not in Baltimore because I'm sure it'll be a shit show of traffic light tickets and going to fight them and being yelled at. And
Do you remember the guy who took a bat to one of the ones on the side of the road?
yeah, the ones that are on 695, I think, right?
Yeah. So that was the state of Maryland. That was the state troopers that were responsible for that.
Yeah.
So it was different from the Baltimore City plan. But a guy got out of his car, like he got a picture taken of himself, slammed on the brakes, stopped on the side of the road, started taking a bat to the speed camera.
Yeah.
It actually took them a long time to catch him because when he started smashing things, he started breaking the thing that had like the hard drive with the pictures in it.
on it. You ain't getting my picture.
So it took a while, but they eventually caught him. And I believe that not only did the state sue him, but also the manufacturer of the
Right. Because
And-
we leased
and the
those.
camera got the company got double dipped on that one.
Yeah.
So like when the state won, a certain portion of the money that went
to the vendor.
went to the vendor, and then the vendor had also sued him independently, and all that money went to the vendor.
Yeah.
Listen,
America, 2017.
I'm fine if you want to have a private company that runs your speed camera program. I don't think there should be a speed camera program,
No.
but because there's been no science that have proven that this actually works, or
It's more dangerous. Everyone slams on their brakes when they see the camera.
Yeah.
It cannot make anything safer. It is totally pointless. And all it's doing is taking money from the people who can afford it least and
Yeah.
giving it to the government. Like it's new taxes for poor people.
right.
Completely regressive. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the fact that you get that contract because you pay into the mayor or the governor or enough people at the House of Delegates or the state Senate, it boggles the mind. And again, going back to the when are people are going to get upset enough to throw a revolution? It's these incremental things that we're like, yeah, well, I don't like the speed cameras, but I usually do 55 to 60. It's only going to go off if I go 64 or above. Flash. I was doing 53 miles an hour. Why did it go off? Well, here's your ticket for 67. Nothing you can do about it.
Well, not only that, but sometimes there are false positives.
Yeah.
But I always found myself, if I was driving along and the speed limit was 65 or 55 and I knew that it was going to go off at 64 and I just drove past it at 52 miles an hour, I stop. Well, don't stop.
Right.
I stop and pull over and get on my phone and make a note. I say, on May 20th at 5:33 p.m., a camera caught me saying, or, flashed its lights.
Yeah.
I was at the time doing 52 miles per hour. Make sure you check with your onboard computer. Because I had the OBD too.
Yeah.
I was like, where I can pull the exact speed that I was going based off of the engine revs.
Yeah.
Which is the most accurate way of doing that.
This is what you have to do.
Yeah, and I have to make a note of it. So that way, 4 weeks from now, when I get the ticket in the mail, I don't go like, well, what was that day? No, I have a note of like everything that just happened. I have to be responsible for remembering this.
Yeah.
And then if I get the ticket, I have to be taking the day off from work. I have to go in there. I have to fight it.
Yeah.
There's no winning for Corey. There's no you proved the speed camera wrong. You win $1,000. Like
no, and even if they are wrong, you lose. No matter what, you lose. And for most people, it's cheaper to just pay the ticket because there's no points attached to it. So you pay the $100 ticket. Let's say it's a $50 ticket, and you had to take the day off from work. Which is more beneficial to you, paying the $50 ticket or missing 4 hours of work?
Right.
Well, it's a push for let's say you're making $10 an hour.
Some of these,
it's nearly a push.
Some of these with the I think part of the first version of the Baltimore City speed cameras, if I remember this correctly, didn't have a you pay for it if you're guilty.
Right.
You pay for it ahead of time, and we'll give you the money back if you're not guilty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this program is so secure and so right all the time
we don't have to worry about
there's no arguing.
Well, and the law, read the laws, because DC's law is hilarious. It is assumed that the camera is correct. And you can't get a hearing, you can't go get in front of a human being, nothing. There's a human being who sits there, you send in your digital thing of like, this is what I think, this was the situation that happened, I took notes, here's all of my evidence, and they take that, and they take the thing from the camera, and they're like, well, this under law is 100% correct.
Yeah.
So I have to either figure out how both of these can be correct or you lose. That is it.
I got fucked by DC real bad on that one because I was coming back from an HF festival at RFK and I was sitting on the right-hand lane trying to merge into traffic and somebody flew by me at an insane rate of speed. Speed camera went off, and then I got the ticket in the mail.
Yeah, because you were blocking them from the camera.
Yeah, and I said, I wrote them back, like, when it's just like, if you choose to argue that this ticket isn't right, feel free to write back in this space. And I wrote, I have my brake lights on. There is a car to the left of me that is passing me that is the responsible party for the speed ticket.
Yeah.
Do not send them the speed ticket. Do not send it to me. I was stopped.
Yeah.
And they were just like, we couldn't find any evidence that proved this theory to be correct.
So you're guilty. So
I'm guilty.
Pay the speeding ticket.
Pay the speeding ticket. No court, no anything.
Did you pay it?
No. Fuck them.
I have 2 outstanding tickets with DC right now.
Yeah.
So, and they let you renew your license. So I'm assuming that it's not.
They don't. The only way legally speaking, this is what I love. Legally speaking, the only way DC can enforce this is if they catch you.
Yeah.
And they have to catch you committing a crime.
Right.
So if I'm speeding in DC, if I'm doing 120 miles an hour, and they catch me on cam or on the radar doing it,
now you got me.
They got me.
Yeah.
And they can say, do you know you have 3 outstanding speeding tickets in the District of Columbia worth now at this point with penalties and extensions like $5,000? And I'm like, no.
What?
Me?
I didn't realize. On the plus side,
well, you did write in on the first one.
Like, I do remember that.
Saying, go fuck yourself. This isn't me.
I don't remember getting anything back about that, though. So I'm going to go with no.
Technically speaking, I think that's your fault.
And I do think that maybe you have to worry about it, but this guy ain't riding through the District of Columbia anytime soon. Boop. And the next time I do, hopefully it'll be at the head of a victory parade.
Or a motorcade.
2020. I'm just saying. I'm eligible. Things have gone bad. You're looking for a leader you can trust. I am that leader. Rob Cheek for president 2020.
Well, you know where you won't find any contracts with hilarious write-ups?
Where's that?
OhTheAnthem.com, Corey.OhTheAnthem.com, Oh The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line 443-219-7595.
What's the number again?
443-219-7595.
And you can find me on all your social networks at Robert N. Cheek. Make sure you check out robertncheek.com for more information about my news website, the political blog, foundingthefuture.us, where you can find more rantings like you've heard here today. And, of course, the books, which are available on Amazon.
Buy Rob's books.
Hey, you came prepared today. Woo! So
Well, I think we've done good here today.
we've done something. I don't know if it's good.
I'd like to say, just again, the live stream seems to have been
A little
problematic
down.
all
Yes.
day. We're sorry if you tried to. We're thankful that you tried to tune in. Sorry if you weren't able to get through.
I see people joining though, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe we're having a problem here, but it might be okay for everybody out there in OTA.
I
land.
really don't know what happened. If you've been watching, thank you. If you haven't been able to, sorry. This doesn't seem to be on our end.
Yeah.
But we are working every single week to improving this even more.
Yes.
And hopefully in due time, it'll be 100% perfect.
Exactly right. And,
And if you missed anything and you want to catch up on our hilariousness, OhTheAnthem.com on Tuesday is where the full episode will be released. It'll have a very nice video, not the one with the sidebar and everything, but just
still nice.
our faces.
Right.
And
But you'll be able to see this video captured, and it'll be the full podcast without interruption, without any lag. It'll be, lag maybe if you're watching on 56K. I can't
make any promises if you're still doing this on dial-up.
Yeah, sorry. But also keep in mind that while you're at OhTheAnthem.com, you should check out all of the other podcasts on the Oh The Anthem Digital Network. Anthem Alliance puts out new episodes on Friday or Saturday. And Dirty Show Underground has new episodes out on Thursday, which means that 3 days a week you can get quality content from the Oh The Anthem Digital Network. So don't sleep on that.
And all of that is free.
All of it free.
And all of it just is yearning for your rankings and reviews. And
Absolutely.
so
make
if you
sure.
have nice things to say,
Yeah.
say it on Apple Music or
Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, Apple Podcasts. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff.
Yeah. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you do hit that like and subscribe button so you get updated with YouTube videos every single week. And we have some bonus stuff that we're working on. We have an argument that people may or may not enjoy. I don't know. We thought it was pretty entertaining. The basketball game is still coming. All of that will be content that's available exclusively on YouTube. So make sure you go there and you sign up and you hit like and subscribe. And if you're watching us on Facebook, again, thank you. Welcome. And make sure you check out all of the live streams that'll be up on Facebook at OhTheAnthem.com. Make sure you there, again, click like and click subscribe or like, however it is that you do it. And make sure you turn on those notifications so that you get a notification when we go live and you can join us for every single episode.
Well, one last time this episode, I think I've done good here today.
I think we've done something, but I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the Oh The Anthem podcast, part of the Oh The Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
97 degrees outside is not the time to have the air off for this long a period of time.
To be fair, though, it's a better 97 in LA than it is anywhere else in the country.
Thank God for no humidity.
Whew.